Alex had always thought living alone would be simple. Rent was manageable, the apartment was cozy, and he liked the quiet of mornings spent with coffee and the distant hum of the city outside. But when the ad for a roommate finally found someone, he thought his life might get slightly busier, maybe a little messier, but nothing too wild. He certainly did not expect to meet someone who would turn his understanding of reality upside down. The doorbell rang on a bright Tuesday afternoon. Alex, carrying a grocery bag of bread and milk, hurried to open it. Standing there was someone, not exactly what he expected. The figure in front of him was tall, slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer faintly under the sunlight. Her eyes were enormous, glowing a soft shade of teal, and when she blinked, it felt almost like the room brightened for a brief moment. Her hair floated slightly around her face as if it resisted gravity. "Hello," she said in a tone that was melodic but strange, almost like music shaped into words. "I am Lyra. I am your new roommate." Alex froze for a moment. He had expected a girl around his age, maybe messy hair, a backpack, some sneakers. He did not expect this. She smiled, or at least it seemed like a smile. There was no fear in her eyes, only a quiet, scientific curiosity. "Oh, hi," Alex said, stepping aside. "Come in, I guess." You got all your stuff." Lyra tilted her head, studying him as if analyzing his very thoughts. "Yes, I am fully prepared for habitation in your unit. I have packed all necessary items according to your dimensions and environmental norms." Alex blinked. "Environmental norms?" "You know," she said casually, "the temperature humans prefer, air composition, and acceptable gravity orientation." Alex laughed nervously. "Right. Yeah, I guess this place is pretty normal. Well, normal for humans." She nodded as if this confirmed something in her mind. "Good. I have observed humans for a short period, and I believe you are a suitable candidate for study." Alex paused. "Study? Wait, what do you mean?" Lyra's eyes brightened. "I am here to study human mating rituals. Your species, social interactions, and methods of pair formation are fascinating. You have been assigned as my subject." Alex's face went pale. "Subject? You mean like dating practice, or, something else?" "Practice," she said simply. "I will learn by interacting with you. It is a non-threatening method. I am here for cultural education, not aggression." Alex sank onto his couch, suddenly unsure whether he had read the ad correctly. "So, let me get this straight. I wanted a normal roommate. You wanted mating practice." Lyra tilted her head again. "You are more accurate than most humans in summarizing. I wish to observe, learn, and replicate the subtle behaviors of your species. Physical interaction is optional, but social engagement is required." Alex rubbed his temples. This was not normal at all. But he also realized he couldn't exactly tell her to leave. There was something about her calm, intelligent presence that made him hesitate. She did not seem dangerous. She did not seem threatening. And truthfully, her curiosity was kind of charming in a weird, slightly alarming way. "Well," Alex said slowly, trying to sound casual, "I guess we can start with dinner." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Yes, food intake is a valuable cultural moment. I wish to observe your human eating patterns as well." The next hour was a comedy of misunderstandings. Alex tried to show her how to use a fork properly, explaining that stabbing food aggressively was not a common dining method. Lyra attempted to replicate his motions but held the fork at an odd angle, her long fingers bending unnaturally. Bread crumbs flew across the table. Alex laughed nervously, unsure whether to correct her further or just let it happen. "So," Lyra said after tasting the food, "the chemical reactions in your mouth produce a pleasurable response. This is amusing. I understand why humans are motivated to engage in bonding rituals over food." Alex nearly choked on a sip of water. "Bonding rituals, you mean like you and me just having dinner?" Lyra nodded. "Precisely. You are demonstrating essential human traits. You blush, you laugh, you explain. These are important signals in your species' pairing methods." Alex stared at her. "You're taking notes." Lyra tapped her temple lightly. "Yes, I encode every observable behavior for later replication and analysis. You are an excellent model." Alex leaned back, shaking his head in disbelief. "Excellent model, great. Just what every guy wants to hear on the first day with a new roommate." Despite his awkwardness, Alex found himself relaxing slowly. Lyra was not threatening. She was curious. And there was a kind of innocent excitement about her presence that made him feel like he was part of something extraordinary. After all, not every human got to host an alien who was genuinely trying to understand the species, mating rituals. Over the next few days, Lyra began a rigorous schedule of observation. She shadowed Alex to the grocery store, noting how he interacted with cashiers and strangers. She asked endless questions about why humans said certain things, why certain gestures were considered polite, and why some behaviors were seen as attractive. Alex became both teacher and performer. He showed her the casual way humans flirted in conversation, the subtle humor that often went unnoticed, and the tiny, almost subconscious gestures that made someone seem approachable or kind. Lyra watched intently, absorbing every detail. She occasionally tried to mimic the behaviors, and Alex had to stifle laughter at some of her literal interpretations, like bowing deeply every time someone said hello, or offering to carry groceries in an exaggeratedly polite way. One evening, as they were sitting on the couch watching a movie, Lyra turned to Alex with a curious expression. "Do humans often find these interactions stressful?" Alex raised an eyebrow. "Which ones?" "All interactions, all social engagement. You seem to adapt constantly. You teach, correct, and encourage without aggression. It is remarkable." Alex laughed. "Yeah, I guess humans are good at pretending everything's fine even when it's confusing." Lyra considered this. "Fascinating. Your species thrives on adaptation. The ability to improvise in unpredictable circumstances. This is highly advantageous." Alex grinned. "You mean humans are dangerous?" Lyra tilted her head and laughed, a sound that was musical but soft. "Dangerous, yes, but not in your way. Clever, adaptable, unpredictable. This is why I am studying you. Your methods are subtle but effective." Alex realized he was enjoying himself, even if the circumstances were bizarre. Having an alien roommate wasn't exactly what he had expected, but it was certainly interesting. And there was something satisfying in seeing her reactions, the genuine fascination, the careful attention, and the moments when she genuinely tried to understand human quirks. The next morning, Lyra approached Alex while he was making coffee. She held a small notebook-like device and looked at him with wide, sparkling eyes. "I have observed an inconsistency in human mating behaviors. Some interactions are contradictory. How do you reconcile conflicting social signals?" Alex groaned, rubbing his eyes. "You mean sometimes people like someone even if they act weird?" Lyra nodded. "Precisely. You seem aware of this inconsistency. How do you manage?" Alex leaned against the counter, sipping his coffee. "Honestly, you just roll with it. Observe, listen, respond. Humans can be confusing, but if you're paying attention, you figure out what matters." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "You are impressively intuitive. I will encode this into my observational model." Alex shook his head, smiling. He had no idea what she would do with all this information, but he had a feeling it would be interesting. The day ended with them sitting together on the couch, quiet for a moment, watching the city lights flicker outside. Alex realized that living alone might have been easy, but living with someone who wanted to study humans in such detail was entertaining, challenging, and strange. And he had a feeling his life would never be normal again. Just before going to bed, Lyra looked at him and said softly, almost curiously, "Tomorrow, we begin the next stage. I wish to explore human recreational interaction and courtship methods in public spaces. Are you prepared?" Alex paused. "I think I'm going to need a lot more coffee." Lyra tilted her head and smiled. Then it shall be recorded. Your caffeine consumption is another human ritual, important for observational accuracy. As Alex laughed quietly, he realized that what he had expected, a simple, quiet life with a roommate, had turned into something far stranger, far more exciting, and far more human than he could have ever imagined. And in a small, gleaming apartment in the city, an alien girl was about to learn, in her own curious way, why humans were so impossible and brilliant at being themselves. The next morning, Alex woke up to the smell of burnt toast. Lyra was in the kitchen, her delicate fingers hovering over the toaster as smoke curled around her like mist. She looked at him with wide, glowing eyes. "Good morning, Alex. I am attempting to prepare a human breakfast for observational purposes. Are you ready for consumption?" Alex rubbed his eyes and muttered, "I think I'm ready, but that smoke alarm is." He moved quickly to switch it off before it shrieked again. Lyra looked momentarily startled but then nodded, her expression serious. "Important precautions. I will record your reactions to the aroma and flavor. Also, I will observe your body language to determine satisfaction levels." Alex sighed. "You really do take notes on everything, huh?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, observation is the core of my learning process." After breakfast, Lyra announced that she was ready for the day's first public experiment. Alex, still half awake, tried to understand what exactly this would involve. "Experiment?" he asked. Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Yes. We will visit a social hub of your species called Mall. I wish to observe human interactions, courtship rituals, and recreational engagement. You will act as my human guide." Alex groaned. "So, you mean shopping, but with a focus on flirting and human social behavior." "Precisely," she said, her tone oddly cheerful. "We must gather extensive data." The walk to the mall was quiet at first. Lyra studied everything: the way people walked, how they spoke to one another, the expressions on faces, even the colors of clothing. "Humans communicate a great deal through facial gestures," she remarked as they passed a group of teenagers laughing. "These expressions convey emotion, intent, and sometimes attraction." Alex tried not to laugh at how seriously she observed every small detail. "Yeah, you could say that, but humans are also confusing. Sometimes people laugh and it has nothing to do with attraction. Sometimes people frown but they're not angry. You just figure it out as you go." Lyra tilted her head, considering. "Your species seems to rely heavily on intuition. Fascinating." Once inside the mall, Lyra immediately began taking notes. She watched couples walking hand in hand, observing how they touched, laughed, and spoke. She mimicked gestures quietly, holding Alex's arm for a moment to test the subtle human signal of comfort. Alex froze. That's not exactly how you do it," he whispered. Lyra frowned. "Explain. My observation indicates this is a normal human contact pattern." "Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. You don't just grab someone's arm in public unless they're, close friends or family," Alex said, trying not to sound rude. Lyra nodded slowly. "I see. Context is important. I will record this adjustment for future behavior replication." They stopped at a small coffee shop. Alex ordered a cappuccino while Lyra stared at the menu as if trying to decode a secret language. "I require guidance," she said. "Explain these choices." Alex raised an eyebrow. "It's coffee, you pick what sounds good." She nodded as if this made perfect sense and then pointed at a fancy drink. "This one. Its appearance and descriptors are most appealing. I will try it." When it arrived, Lyra took a tiny sip, then blinked rapidly. Her eyes glowed a little brighter. Pleasure response activated. "Your species' claims about caffeine's effects are accurate." Alex laughed. "Glad you like it, but that's just the start. Humans use drinks like this for social bonding. Sitting together talking, it's part of the ritual." Lyra studied him seriously. "You mean that social bonding can be achieved through simultaneous ingestion of a substance? Your species is intricate." "Yeah, complicated but fun," Alex said, smiling. "And sometimes weird." The day continued with a mix of observation and experimentation. Lyra tried to replicate human behaviors. She laughed at jokes, sometimes too early, sometimes too late, smiled at strangers in a slightly exaggerated manner, and even tried to compliment a barista on her hair. Alex nearly fell over laughing. "Lyra, no one talks like that," he whispered. "But your species does compliment one another regularly," she replied, confused. "I am following protocol," Alex groaned. "You're technically correct, but you're making it weird." Despite the awkwardness, Alex realized people were noticing Lyra. Not in a scary way, but curiosity sparked in their eyes. She had an unusual grace and presence. Some even smiled back at her unintentionally. Alex found himself explaining the tiny things humans did naturally, like making eye contact, leaning slightly forward when listening, or nodding to show interest. As they walked through the clothing section of the mall, Lyra picked up a scarf and held it around her neck, examining her reflection. "This is called accessorizing," Alex explained. "It helps communicate style and sometimes status." Humans use clothing to influence perception, including romantic perception. Lyra nodded seriously. "I see. Altering appearance to enhance social signaling is clever. I will note this." Then she turned to him with a curious smile. "How do humans indicate romantic interest without words?" Alex paused. "Us subtle gestures mostly. Smiles, touches, glances, and sometimes awkwardness. Believe it or not, being slightly nervous can make someone seem more human and approachable." Lyra's eyes brightened. "Interesting, I must test this. Are you willing to participate?" Alex gulped. "I guess so." She reached out, lightly touching his arm, and tilted her head. Alex felt his cheeks heat up. "See," he muttered to himself. "This is why humans are confusing. One small touch, and suddenly I feel like I'm breaking some rule I didn't know existed." Lyra smiled faintly. "Your response is as predicted, pleasure mixed with uncertainty. Fascinating." By the afternoon, Alex realized just how exhausting it was to be a human teacher for an alien. Lyra was curious about everything: how people greeted strangers, how they complimented, how they handled conflict. She even tried to decode what different shoes might communicate about personality. At the food court, Lyra observed couples sharing snacks. She carefully tried to replicate the behavior by offering Alex half of her candy bar. Alex laughed nervously. "Lyra, you don't have to really. It is part of social bonding," she said, tilting her head. "Your species values sharing. Observation must be accurate." Alex took a bite, shaking his head in disbelief. "I can't believe I'm doing this." Yet he also noticed something remarkable. People around them were relaxed. Lyra's attempts, though awkward, had a charm. Her curiosity and sincerity made interactions lighter, friendlier. People smiled back, unconsciously responding to her energy. Alex realized she wasn't just studying humans. She was making them notice human cleverness and kindness in ways they didn't expect. As the sun began to set, Lyra turned to him. "Today has been highly informative. Your species' methods are unpredictable yet effective." "I must admit, humans are more capable than I anticipated," Alex chuckled. "Thanks, I think," Lyra smiled faintly. "Do you find this experience taxing?" "Exhausting," he admitted, "but kind of fun too, weird but fun." Lyra tilted her head. "Your species thrives on unpredictability. Adaptation is second nature. I am beginning to understand why humans are respected by other species." Alex paused, impressed despite himself. "Respected, huh? Well, I guess humans are pretty good at handling strange situations." "You're proof of that." She considered this. "You find me strange," Alex laughed. "Yeah, you're the strangest roommate I've ever had, and I think you'll stay that way." Lyra's eyes glowed softly. "I will continue to be an effective subject." "Your species' reactions are valuable data, but I believe I have learned much today, especially about subtlety, humor, and emotional nuance. Your species is impressive." Alex smiled, feeling a mix of pride and amusement. "Glad I could help." Just try not to embarrass me too much tomorrow. Lyra tilted her head, intrigued. Embarrassment is part of social learning, yes. Very well, I will moderate my actions, but some data may require risk. Alex groaned, realizing that this was only the beginning. Tomorrow would bring more experiments, more awkward public interactions, and more moments where he would question what normal human life really meant. As they walked home, Lyra observed the people they passed. Alex noticed she was quieter than usual, her eyes studying, learning. She occasionally mimicked a small gesture she had seen earlier, a casual smile, a slight nod, a polite laugh. Alex realized she was starting to adapt, not perfectly, but enough that she looked almost human. By the time they reached the apartment, Alex was exhausted but strangely exhilarated. Living with Lyra was turning out to be an adventure, a crash course in human behavior from someone who saw the world entirely differently. And as he prepared for bed, he realized something. Maybe humans weren't just clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. Maybe humans were remarkable in ways even he didn't fully understand. And maybe, just maybe, this alien roommate was about to help him see it. The next morning, Alex woke up feeling a mixture of exhaustion and curiosity. After the previous day's mall experiment, he thought things couldn't get any more unusual. He was wrong. Lyra was already up, pacing the living room, her long fingers tapping lightly on her notebook-like device. "Good morning, Alex. Are you ready for today's experiment?" she asked, her glowing eyes shining with enthusiasm. Alex rubbed his eyes and yawned. "I guess I don't have a choice, do I?" Lyra tilted her head, curious. "Choice is always present, but participation is recommended for accurate data collection." He groaned. "That sounds like a polite way of saying I have to come with you." Lyra smiled faintly as if she had understood perfectly. "Yes, you are required for social modeling. Your species' emotional responses are essential." By mid-morning, they were out the door. Lyra had decided that the next stage of her research would take place in a larger public setting. Alex assumed this meant a busy park or plaza. In reality, she had chosen a city festival, a place packed with humans interacting freely, showing emotions openly, and according to her, providing maximum observational potential. The festival was colorful, noisy, and chaotic. Booths with games, food, and crafts stretched for blocks, and people moved in all directions. Music from a nearby stage filled the air, blending with laughter and chatter. Alex felt instantly overwhelmed. Lyra, on the other hand, looked fascinated. She observed everything with sharp attention. The way people moved in crowds, how friends greeted each other, and how strangers smiled politely when passing by. She occasionally reached out and mimicked a gesture she had just seen, testing its social effect on Alex. "Observe," she said quietly, tapping her device. "Human proximity management is highly variable. Some individuals tolerate closeness, others require distance. This must be accounted for in courtship simulations." Alex nodded, trying not to laugh. "Yeah, humans are weird. You never know if someone is okay with being touched or not. You just figure it out as you go." Lyra nodded seriously. "Fascinating. Adaptation is required. Your species thrives on unpredictability." They moved through the festival, stopping at a game booth where people were tossing rings onto bottles. Lyra carefully studied the way couples interacted, noting gestures of encouragement, smiles, laughter, and the occasional playful nudge. "I must try," she said suddenly, picking up a ring. She handed Alex a small ring and he blinked. "You want me to throw it?" he asked. "Yes. Coordinated participation increases observational accuracy." Alex laughed nervously. "Okay, here goes nothing." He tossed the ring carefully, landing it perfectly on the bottle. Lyra's eyes lit up. "Success. Positive reinforcement observed. Your species' methods are effective. Again, I note the emotional response: smile, satisfaction, verbal affirmation." "Excellent data," Alex chuckled, realizing he was now part of a live demonstration for alien research. As they continued, Lyra attempted to interact with other festival goers. Her approach was awkward but charming. She complimented a stranger's hat and mimicked the way people laughed at jokes, sometimes too late, sometimes too early. Alex found himself explaining her actions quickly. "Lyra, people don't always react exactly like that," he whispered when she offered a tiny bow to a group of teenagers. They smiled. "Is this incorrect?" she asked. "Well, not exactly wrong, just different," he said. "Humans are subtle. You have to be subtle too." Lyra tilted her head. "Subtlety is challenging." Noted. Despite the awkwardness, Alex noticed something unexpected. People seemed drawn to her. Maybe it was her unusual appearance or the fact that she moved differently, with grace and precision. Whatever it was, strangers smiled, laughed, and even tried to interact with her. Alex realized she was unintentionally spreading good energy and human curiosity. People responded to her interest in them. At a food stand, Lyra observed couples sharing snacks. She handed Alex a small portion of her dessert. Alex laughed nervously. "Lyra, you don't have to share it like that." "It is part of social bonding," she said simply. "Your species values sharing. Observation must be accurate." Alex took a bite and shook his head in disbelief. "I can't believe this is my life right now." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "You are an excellent human model. Your reactions, emotions, and improvisations are highly informative." By midday, Alex was exhausted, but Lyra was still observing everything with meticulous attention. She asked endless questions: why humans complimented certain things, why laughter was contagious, and why small touches could communicate feelings more effectively than words. "Your species is intricate," she said finally, watching a pair of friends laugh. "How do you remember all these signals and still respond correctly?" Alex shrugged. "We just do, you get used to it. Humans are clever, we notice, adapt, and improvise. It's not always perfect, but it works." Lyra tilted her head thoughtfully. "Adaptation, improvisation, subtlety, your species excels in unpredictable environments. This is impressive." Alex smiled despite his exhaustion. "Thanks, I think." As the festival drew to a close, Lyra turned to him with glowing eyes. "Today has provided significant insights. Emotional nuance, social improvisation, and bonding behaviors are far more complex than my initial assumptions. Humans are remarkable." Alex felt a surge of pride mixed with amusement. "Well, we do what we can. You're making it easier for people to notice it too." Lyra nodded. "I am learning from both you and your species. Observation is mutual. Adaptation benefits both observer and observed. Fascinating." They walked home slowly, and Alex noticed she was quieter than usual. She seemed to be processing the day, replaying interactions in her mind. Occasionally, she mimicked a small gesture she had seen earlier: a polite nod, a gentle smile, a subtle wave. Alex realized she was beginning to adapt, not perfectly, but enough that she looked almost human. When they reached the apartment, Alex collapsed onto the couch. "I don't know how you do it," he said. "All day, observing, mimicking, asking questions. I'm exhausted just watching you do it." Lyra sat beside him, her eyes soft. "Your species possesses a resilience I am beginning to appreciate. Emotional management, physical endurance, and social adaptation are notable." Alex laughed quietly. "So humans are impressive according to an alien roommate." Lyra tilted her head thoughtfully. "Yes, observation confirms it. You adapt to complexity, manage unpredictability, and remain socially effective. Your species is exceptional in ways I did not expect." Alex shook his head, smiling. "Well, I'm glad you're learning, but I have a feeling tomorrow will be even more intense." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Tomorrow will involve collaborative tasks and group interactions. Your species excels in cooperation and improvisation. Data collection must continue." Alex groaned. "Great, more public chaos then." As he got ready for bed, he realized something remarkable. Lyra's curiosity, her dedication, and her perspective were helping him see humans in a new way. He had always thought humans were clever, yes, but he hadn't realized how adaptable, subtle, and unexpectedly influential they could be, especially when someone new, from an entirely different world, observed them so closely. And as he drifted off to sleep, he knew that life with Lyra was changing him, teaching him, and showing him that humans were capable of extraordinary things, even in everyday moments. And he also knew that the next day the lessons and the chaos would continue. The next morning, Alex woke up feeling the familiar mix of dread and curiosity. Lyra was already awake, standing by the window, her glowing eyes scanning the city skyline. She turned toward him with a look of unmistakable excitement. "Alex," she said, her voice musical as always, "today we will engage in the ultimate social experiment, observation of humans in a complex cooperative setting." Alex groaned, sitting up. "Ultimate social experiment, that sounds terrifying. What do you mean exactly?" Lyra tilted her head. "A gathering of humans and other species has been arranged in a public arena. Your species, adaptability, improvisation, and collaborative skill must be observed under conditions of high variability and unpredictability. You are required to participate as a representative." Alex blinked. "Representative me? Just me?" "Yes," she said simply, "you are suitable. You possess emotional nuance, improvisational ability, and social awareness, key traits of your species." Alex sighed. "I'm beginning to think humans are only impressive because aliens like you are watching." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Observation confirms it. Humans are indeed remarkable. Today we will explore why." By late morning, they arrived at a large public arena near the center of the city. The space was enormous, filled with booths, stages, and exhibition areas. Humans mingled with visitors from other worlds, creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some floated, some had multiple limbs, and some shimmered like Lyra. Alex felt a mixture of awe and nervousness. Lyra immediately began her observations. "Your species demonstrates cooperation even under high sensory stimulation. Coordination occurs without direct verbal communication in many instances. This is impressive." Alex followed her, trying to keep pace. "Yeah, humans are good at teamwork when we have to be. Sometimes it looks chaotic, but it usually works out." Lyra's gaze scanned the crowd. "Your species also uses humor as a social lubricant. Observation confirms that laughter reduces tension and facilitates bonding. Excellent mechanism." Alex couldn't help but smile. "Yeah, we're not perfect, but we try." Lyra led him to a group activity, a large collaborative game designed to challenge problem-solving skills and cooperation. Teams were formed from a mix of humans and aliens, and Alex realized he was being pushed into the role of leader for one of the teams. "Your team will require guidance," Lyra said quietly. "Observe, instruct, and facilitate. Your species excels in these roles." Alex gulped. "Facilitate, okay. I can try." The game began. Alex's team had to solve a series of puzzles while navigating obstacles. The challenges required communication, coordination, and creative thinking. Alex quickly realized that humans' ability to improvise was being tested alongside other species' unique abilities. Lyra stayed close, observing his every move. She occasionally whispered instructions or asked questions about his decision-making process. "Why did you choose that solution?" she asked as Alex directed a teammate to place a puzzle piece. "Because it makes sense," he said. "Sometimes you have to think fast and adjust on the fly. Humans are good at noticing patterns and reacting." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "Adaptation in real time. Observation confirms your species excels in dynamic problem-solving. Fascinating." As the game progressed, Alex noticed the other humans responding naturally to the aliens' abilities. Some floated over obstacles. Others used multiple limbs to handle several pieces at once. Humans adapted, giving directions, offering encouragement, and sometimes improvising completely new strategies. Lyra observed every detail, recording subtle cues, how humans divided tasks, how they communicated urgency, and how they maintained morale. Alex felt proud, realizing that even in this chaotic, multi-species environment, humans' cleverness and empathy were standing out. At one point, a misunderstanding arose between a human teammate and an alien visitor. Words were misinterpreted, gestures misread, and frustration built. Alex quickly intervened, using humor and calm explanations to ease the tension. Lyra's eyes widened. Conflict resolution via emotional intelligence. Your species excels in maintaining cooperation despite high variability. This is exceptional. Alex smiled despite the stress. Yeah, humans know how to handle weird situations. We figure things out, even when they don't go as planned. The team continued, navigating challenges with a mix of improvisation, communication, and persistence. Alex noticed that humans' ability to stay flexible, laugh at mistakes, and motivate each other kept the team moving forward, even when obstacles seemed impossible. Finally, the team completed the game. They had not been the fastest, but they had succeeded through creativity, coordination, and resilience. Lyra's expression glowed with admiration. Your species demonstrates resourcefulness, adaptability, and social intelligence under extreme conditions. Data confirms humans are highly effective in unpredictable environments. Alex chuckled. You're really impressed, huh? Lyra nodded. Impressed is insufficient. Observation indicates admiration. Your species' capabilities exceed expectations. Humans are remarkable. As they left the arena, Alex felt a strange sense of pride. He had been nervous, exhausted, and unsure of himself, but the experiment had shown that humans could shine even under pressure, in cooperation with beings far different from themselves. Lyra continued to observe, asking questions and noting behaviors. Your species maintains composure, humor, and creativity simultaneously. Emotional regulation is impressive. Adaptation in social and physical challenges is highly effective. Alex laughed quietly. Well, we do what we can. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we try. That's humans. Lyra tilted her head, curious. Trying, adapting, observing, your species uses unpredictability as a strength. Fascinating. I have learned much today. Alex shook his head in disbelief. I can't believe I'm basically a walking example of human greatness for an alien research project. Lyra's eyes glimmered. You are more than a model. You are a participant in active learning. Humans teach through action, improvisation, and emotional nuance. This is why your species is respected by others. Alex felt a warm sense of pride mixed with amusement. Well, if you put it that way, it doesn't sound so bad. Lyra smiled faintly. It is beneficial for both observer and observed. Mutual learning increases understanding and efficiency. Observation confirms humans are clever, resourceful, and effective in multi-species interactions. As they walked home, Alex noticed that Lyra's mimicry had improved. She occasionally imitated small gestures she had seen during the game, a subtle nod of encouragement, a quiet laugh at a joke, and gentle attention to the actions of those around her. Alex realized she was no longer awkwardly mimicking humans, she was beginning to understand them. By the time they reached their apartment, Alex was exhausted but exhilarated. Lyra, however, looked energized. Observation continues. I will encode data tonight. Analysis will enhance my understanding of your species' social strategies. Alex groaned. You never stop, do you? Lyra tilted her head. Continuous observation is essential for accurate understanding. Your species' behaviors are intricate, nuanced, and highly adaptive. Learning must be thorough. Alex laughed quietly. Yeah, humans are kind of amazing when you think about it. Lyra's glowing eyes met his. Yes, and you have demonstrated why. Observation confirms humans thrive in complexity, adapt to unpredictability, and collaborate effectively. Your species' ingenuity is impressive. Alex shook his head, smiling. Well, if you say so, I guess I'm proud, even if it's for alien research. Lyra smiled faintly. Pride is a valid emotional response. Observation indicates it is beneficial. Recognition of achievement strengthens social bonds. Your species is effective in teaching through action and example. As Alex prepared for bed that night, he reflected on the day's events. The festival, the game, the interactions with humans and aliens alike. It had been exhausting, overwhelming, and sometimes awkward. Yet he realized something profound. Humans were clever, resourceful, and surprisingly adaptable. And he had been reminded of something even more important. Even ordinary humans, when placed in extraordinary circumstances, could shine. And as he drifted to sleep, he knew tomorrow would bring new experiments, new challenges, and new opportunities to show Lyra just how remarkable humans could be. The next morning, Alex woke up with a strange mix of relief and nervousness. Today, Lyra had told him, would be the conclusion of her study. After days of malls, festivals, and chaotic public interactions, he thought he might finally get a break. But when he opened his eyes, Lyra was already standing by the window, notebook in hand, her glowing eyes fixed on him. "Alex," she said brightly, "today we will complete the final phase of observation. You will participate in a multi-layered social simulation, encompassing collaboration, improvisation, and cultural demonstration." Alex groaned. "Multi-layered, great. Sounds exhausting already." Lyra tilted her head. "Exhaustion is part of the human experience. Observing your species, ability to endure and adapt under fatigue is essential." He sighed and swung his legs out of bed. "Well, I guess it's time to show you why humans are humans." By mid-morning, they were on their way to the city's cultural exchange center. The building was enormous, with high ceilings, glowing panels, and visitors from dozens of worlds moving through the open halls. Humans mingled with aliens of all shapes and sizes, some with translucent skin, others with multiple eyes or limbs. The center was designed to encourage interaction, cooperation, and cultural demonstration, and Alex felt a sense of nervous excitement. Lyra's eyes were alight with curiosity. Observation potential is maximal. Your species' adaptability, problem-solving, and emotional nuance will now be tested simultaneously. "Are you prepared?" Alex laughed nervously. "I think prepared is a strong word, but I'll try." As they entered the main hall, Lyra immediately began scanning the crowd. She observed everything: the way humans adjusted their speech to different aliens, how they used gestures, smiles, and humor to communicate, and how they adapted to unexpected challenges. "This environment is highly variable," she noted. "Sensory input is intense, social expectations are complex, and cultural norms differ widely. Your species excels under such conditions." Alex nodded. "Yeah, humans are good at figuring things out. We improvise, we adapt, and we stay calm, or at least pretend to when things get confusing." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Imitation, adaptation, and improvisation are core strengths. Observation confirms humans' effectiveness in unpredictable environments." Their first task involved joining a mixed-species team in a collaborative cultural demonstration. Humans and aliens were paired to perform short skits, dance routines, and interactive storytelling. Alex's team was a combination of humans, a floating blue creature with multiple arms, and a tall, crystalline alien whose entire body shimmered like glass. Lyra whispered in his ear, "Your role is essential. Guide your team, encourage participation, and facilitate coordination. Your species demonstrates unparalleled ability in these tasks." Alex gulped. "Guide a floating, multi-armed alien and a walking crystal, sure. How hard can it be?" The group huddled to discuss their plan. The blue creature, named Rilo, attempted to communicate using gestures and musical tones, while the crystalline alien, called Kira, produced harmonized chimes with her limbs. Alex realized that coordinating them would require both creativity and patience. "Okay," he said, taking a deep breath, "let's make this work. Rilo, you can start with the tones, Kira will follow your rhythm, and we humans will improvise dialogue." Lyra observed silently, her glowing eyes recording every detail. Alex noticed her taking subtle notes, occasionally tilting her head when someone improvised unexpectedly. As the rehearsal began, Alex found himself laughing and thinking on his feet. Rilo's musical tones didn't always match the rhythm, Kira's chimes were unpredictable, and the humans occasionally forgot lines. But Alex adapted quickly, incorporating mistakes into the performance and turning them into opportunities for humor. Lyra's expression glowed with fascination. "Your species' improvisational skill is remarkable. Mistakes are leveraged creatively to maintain cohesion and audience engagement. Exceptional." Finally, it was time to perform. Their team stepped onto the stage and Alex's heart raced. The audience, a mix of humans and aliens, watched expectantly. The performance began and chaos erupted. Musical tones overlapped, lines were forgotten and gestures were slightly off. But Alex kept everyone focused. He improvised dialogue, added humorous commentary, and guided the team through the unexpected moments. The audience laughed, clapped, and responded enthusiastically. Lyra's eyes glimmered brighter than ever. Observation confirms. Your species thrives in real-time problem-solving, coordination, and social improvisation. Humans create order from unpredictability. Data confirms exceptional adaptability and ingenuity. When the performance ended, the audience erupted in applause. Alex felt a wave of pride. They had survived, adapted, and entertained, exactly what humans did best. Lyra turned to him, her expression glowing. "Alex, your performance demonstrates the highest levels of human competence. Improvisation, empathy, humor, coordination, all observed at peak effectiveness. Your species is remarkable." Alex laughed, wiping sweat from his brow. "Remarkable, huh? Well, I guess humans are good at surviving chaos." Lyra nodded. "Survival, yes, but also thriving. You adapt, create, and inspire. Observation confirms that humans' ingenuity exceeds initial expectations. Your species excels in unpredictability." After the performance, Lyra guided Alex to a quiet corner. "Now, we conclude observation. Data has been collected, encoded, and analyzed. Your species' social structures, adaptability, and improvisational abilities are highly advanced. Humans are clever, resilient, and resourceful." Alex sat down, exhausted but smiling. "So that's it. You're done with your study." Lyra shook her head slightly. "Observation will continue passively, but active participation has concluded. Your species has exceeded expectations. I have learned much. Your ingenuity, humor, and subtlety are impressive." Alex leaned back, finally feeling relief wash over him. "Well, I'm glad I could help, even if I was basically your test subject this whole time." Lyra tilted her head, her expression soft. "You were not merely a subject. You were a guide, teacher, and example of human capability." Observation confirms humans teach through action, improvisation, and emotion. Your species is highly effective." Alex chuckled. "I guess I'll take that as a compliment." Lyra smiled faintly. "It is more than a compliment. Recognition is necessary. Humans deserve acknowledgement for their achievements, adaptability, and creativity. Observation confirms you are exceptional." Alex felt a warmth in his chest. Over the past days, he had been nervous, exhausted, and overwhelmed. But he realized that through Lyra's observation, he had seen himself and his species in a new light. Humans weren't just clever or adaptable. They were resourceful, empathetic, and able to thrive in situations no other species could handle with the same combination of humor and ingenuity. As the day ended, They walked back to their apartment. The city lights shimmered like stars reflected on water, and Alex felt a strange calm. Lyra, usually so intense and focused, walked silently beside him, occasionally mimicking subtle gestures she had observed throughout the day: a small nod, a gentle smile, a relaxed posture. "You have learned much," Alex said quietly. "I hope you enjoy being human for a little while." Lyra looked at him, glowing softly. "Observation confirms enjoyment is experienced. Your species' emotional complexity is valuable and enriching. I have learned not only about humans but also from humans. Mutual observation increases understanding." Alex laughed quietly. "Mutual observation sounds fancy. Basically, you're saying we both learned something." "Yes," Lyra replied. "Your species' ingenuity, adaptability, and resilience are inspiring. Humans are capable of extraordinary things, even in ordinary circumstances. Observation confirms this." Back in their apartment, Alex sat on the couch, finally feeling like he could relax. Lyra settled across from him, her glowing eyes soft, almost reflective. "You have exceeded expectations," she said quietly. "Humans are clever, adaptive, and resourceful. Your species demonstrates emotional intelligence, improvisation, and creativity at the highest levels. I have learned much about your species and about humans themselves." Alex smiled. "Well, I guess humans are kind of amazing, huh?" Lyra tilted her head. "Yes. Observation confirms humans are remarkable. You improvise, adapt, and thrive in unpredictability. You teach through action, humor, and empathy. Your species is extraordinary." Alex laughed quietly, shaking his head. "Extraordinary sounds like a lot of pressure for the rest of us ordinary humans." Lyra smiled faintly. "Ordinary humans are extraordinary when observed carefully. Observation confirms that your species' potential exceeds expectations. Humans are exceptional." As Alex prepared for bed, he realized something important. Through all the experiments, public interactions, and chaotic situations, he had learned something too. Humans were clever, adaptable, and resilient, not because they had special powers, but because they used humor, empathy, creativity, and observation to thrive. And he had played a small role in showing an alien just how remarkable humans could be. As he drifted off to sleep, he felt a quiet sense of pride and wonder. Lyra's curiosity, dedication, and perspective had not only taught her about humans, but had reminded him of what made humanity special. And somewhere in the quiet of the apartment, an alien girl was recording, observing, and learning, glowing softly in the dim light, forever impressed by the clever, resilient, and wonderfully unpredictable species she had chosen to study.